Wow. What
I
was
went to
that
school.
like?
It was amazing. I went to school in I think the castle was built in the early 1500s. It was a castle with a moat around it.
No way.
So that's where I went to school, and we had a residence close by. There was only, I believe, for first year students, there was only about 20 of us, and then
Amazing.
we stayed the whole year, and then the upper year students would just come in for semester. But
Hmm.
I think the whole school population was 100 people, and that was the first year they started the program, the year that I went.
Welcome back to Powered by People. I'm Wendy Pauls, a local realtor helping people make their next right move. This podcast is all about getting to know the people and organizations that keep our community thriving. My goal is to introduce you to incredible professionals who just might be the perfect connection for your next move, whether in real estate, business, or life. Today's guest, first of all, today's guest is the first one where I got actually a little choked up on the episode. It's Amy Green, a partner at McLeod Green Dewar in Kitchener. Amy is a highly respected family law lawyer with a reputation for being both sharp and deeply compassionate, a rare combo in a field that deals with some of life's most stressful and emotional moments. We talked about everything from the challenges of running a busy law firm while raising two kids to what she wishes more people understood about family law. She shared stories from her childhood on a tobacco farm, the confidence she found while studying abroad in a literal castle, and the handwritten letter she keeps on her desk, a reminder of the impact her words can have. Whether you're curious about the behind the scenes of family law or just want to hear from a woman who's smart, stylish, and grounded, you're going to love this one. Let's get into it. So, Amy, is today like a typical day for you? Is there such a thing for you as a typical day?
Oh, uh, not really. No,
No? Every
no.
day is kind of
Every
different?
day's kind of different. Every
Okay.
day there's kind of new surprises thrown at me. So that day's one of those days for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
And is that work related, more family related, or is it literally, it depends. Like as the surprise could come on either side.
a little bit of both. A little bit of both today, but usually it's work related. But there's lots happening with the end of school and
Yeah.
my kids' activities right now. So yes, there's lots happening
Yes.
right now.
Yes. And you have two girls?
I have a boy and a girl.
A boy and a girl.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which one's older?
The girl is older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, amazing. Fun stage of life, but busy stage of life. And you have a busy, lot of responsibility on you type of job.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we'll get into some of that in a little bit. So, if you got to choose kind of what an ideal average day looked like for you, what would that look like?
Ah, the ideal day would be that I schedule appointments. Those
Mhm.
appointments happen when they're supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I get a lunch break where I get to eat.
Mm,
My day finishes at 5 o'clock,
hmm.
and I don't get any surprise emergency emails or phone calls. That
Hmm.
would be a great day.
Yeah. And the children listen and they go to bed without difficulty and they
Exactly.
remember to bring everything to school with them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And nobody's sick. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, what percentage of your days are even close to that?
Probably like maybe 5%, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing to typically throw it is mostly work related or mostly
Mostly
personal.
work related. There's
Hmm.
always things that pop up in my files that I never anticipated happening, emergencies, people needing things done on an
Mm-hmm.
emergency basis, but I already have other things scheduled. So I end up having to cancel those things or work late or arrange childcare for my kids in the morning so I can come in early to
Mm-hmm.
work on those things or try to
Yeah.
delegate it to other people in our office. But it
Mm.
happens a lot just in this field of work.
Yeah. Do you have trouble turning your brain off?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
even when you're not doing work tasks, your brain's still going
my
because
brain's
you
always
problem
going.
solve,
So
right? Like you problem solve both the stage of life you're in with kids and with work. You're always thinking about next appointments or scheduling or,
there's always a
putting
list
out
running through
fires.
my head. But I think that's
Yeah.
common for a lot of women.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tend to be, I find, kind of in charge of everything.
Mhm.
And then we're the ones that just we have to make sure everything gets done, but
Mhm.
we're kind of in charge of creating the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's always lists running through my head. So I always kind of look forward to the 1 hour, half an hour I can manage before I go to sleep, where the kids are in bed and I can just
Mhm.
kind of breathe and
Yeah.
try to relax a little bit.
And what do you do during that time? What do you do to relax and try to kind of slow the brain and the body down?
Well, what I like to do is be in a dark room, my bedroom. I like to light a candle, or I like to put on my diffuser with calming essential oils.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sometimes I read, but most of the time I will watch Netflix or
Mm.
Prime or something like that and just watch uh, 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 one of my favorite shows. And it usually makes me tired when I do that. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. I like using TV to turn my brain off as well. I tend to choose if that's the purpose, like it's not just a earlier wind down entertainment. If it's really getting close to going to sleep, I like a sitcom. Um, I don't feel like I'm going to miss a key thing in a storyline. Do you know what I mean? If I were watching a show that was intense, then I feel like I have to pay attention. A
yeah,
nice sitcom, you can kind of enjoy it. You can, if you start to doze, it's like not a big deal. So I find that very effective for me to get me to stop with the list, stop
right.
thinking.
Just to kind of focus on something else. Something
Yeah,
else. And
yeah.
that makes sense about the sitcoms. For me, what doesn't make sense, and my friends always laugh about this, is I like to watch. Well, right now I'm finishing The Handmaid's Tale, which is pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
almost done. But I like to watch documentaries like about crimes and
Yeah,
things like that. So my
yeah,
friends always think that's really funny. Um,
yeah.
yeah, like I watch, like the all of the documentaries that are on Netflix about Jeffrey Dahmer and um, various other. The one I just watched was about the couple in England. I don't remember their names. The serial killers in England. There was a new Netflix documentary
Okay, yeah,
about the interviews with them and their trial. So
yeah.
I don't know why that makes me feel relaxed, but it does for some reason. So that's what I do.
Maybe it's like it's a big problem and it's not my problem.
That could be it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I might like to watch that, but then I would have to do something like light after before I go to sleep. So I could do that and then one sitcom
Yeah.
and I
When
would
I'm
have
reading a book,
difficulty.
my books are always about the royal family. So that's my
Okay.
other thing that I read
Okay.
about a lot. So
Oh,
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's go back in time. We're going to get in a little time machine. We're going to go back and we're going to see Amy as a girl. What did you like to do? Did you grew up? No, you grew up in on a tobacco farm. Did I read that? Yeah. Okay, tell me about that.
So I grew up in Victoria, which is a little kind of tiny village in between Port Dover and Simcoe, Port Dover,
Okay.
Simcoe,
Mm-hmm.
and Turkey Point area. It's like right in between. So my great grandparents were the ones that first immigrated to Canada, and they grew
Mm-hmm.
tobacco on my dad's side, and then my grandparents grew tobacco, and then my parents grew tobacco
Wow. Yeah.
until they kind of stopped growing and got a share grower. And my father
Mm-hmm.
passed away when I was in high school, so it changed a lot then as
Wow.
well.
Yeah,
When I was
that
in
must
high
have been
school,
difficult. That's a difficult
yeah,
time to lose a parent. Yeah.
it was a difficult. It was, and I was the oldest too, so I was kind of the one in charge of
Mm-hmm.
managing everybody.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so that's where I grew up. I worked on the farm, kind of doing the jobs that other people they didn't want to pay people to do, like picking up um, leaves that fell on the ground when you're hanging the tobacco in the kilns. I'd have to pick all those up, put blocks in the kilns. I'd be climbing up in the rafters and helping my dad nail them onto rafters.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to work on the tying machine, but every once in a while they let me, but not very much.
Yeah.
Picking up garbage off the ground, cutting the grass, driving the tractor to lay pipes. That was the kind of stuff I did.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we can see a work ethic being developed at an early age for you, because that would be some, some hard work. You weren't inside just watching TV or playing video games or something. You were working.
And I would
Mm-hmm.
get paid with like ice cream and things like that.
Okay. Do you have fond memories of that time?
Yeah, I do. It was good. And I remember having dogs and cats, and we had bunnies at one point in time, and we did lots of activities too. Like I was a figure skater, and I did piano, and I did art lessons, and all kinds of girl guides, all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, busy.
Yeah. And then
Lot.
when I
Yeah.
was older, I got a job. When I was 12, I got my first job, and I was a dishwasher. And then I worked at the Erie Beach Hotel for many, many years. So a lot of people know about that place. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
worked there till I was probably 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that sounds like young for our current time for people to get a job at 12, other than maybe like babysitting or something?
No, it definitely. Yep. But
Yeah.
probably because I was in a small town. I think
Mm-hmm.
I might have said I was 13 because I was almost 13 when I started
Okay.
working.
Okay.
Didn't check ID or anything back then.
And
Um,
were you allowed to use your money? Like, did your parents control your money? Were you allowed to like spend it how you wanted?
no, I was allowed to spend it how I wanted it, which always
Okay.
made my dad mad because I like to buy clothes and I
Okay.
still am like that now.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah.
thought that wasn't a good use of my money,
Yeah.
but my mom would say, well, it's her money, so she can do what she wants with
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel similarly for your kids? I know they're a little bit younger, but like, will you do something similar? Like if they have money and they want to spend it and you may or may not agree?
I don't know. My kids are my son's still pretty young, but my
Hmm.
daughter is
Yeah.
almost 12,
Yeah.
and she's a lot different than me. So she's not really into clothes, and she's into makeup. I think all the kids
Okay.
that age are into Sephora right now,
Huh?
but she's
Yeah.
not really a big spender. But
Okay.
I haven't had to deal with that with her yet.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
when she does want something and it's not something she needs, I tell her she has to use her own money, and she doesn't like that. But
Uh-huh.
and then I remind her that I started working when I was around her age. So
And it's like, darn it, I can't even
like,
push back.
Mom, it's not like that anymore. That was in the olden
Exactly.
days
That's right. That's right.
before cell phones and iPads and
That's right.
everything.
Yeah. There were dinosaurs walking on the planet
Yeah.
then.
And my son doesn't believe me when I tell him we didn't have cell phones and iPads and all that stuff. He thinks I make it up.
Isn't
So
that, yeah, it's
yeah.
so wild. I know we have seen a lot of change. I mean, I'm older than you, but even you have seen a lot of changes in your lifetime for technology and lifestyle and
I think
things
I
like
got my
that.
first cell phone when I was 25, around there. Yeah. Yep. And it's my mom made me get it because she wanted to see where I was all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's that kind of
Yeah.
convenience and the safety aspect
Mhm.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Oh, amazing. So you grew up there. When did you move into like a bigger city? Or did you go right to school from there?
I went right to school. I kind of always wanted to leave Port Dover.
Hmm.
Um, I like going back now, but when I lived there, it was a lot smaller. There wasn't as much to do. There wasn't really a lot of opportunities. So I always wanted to leave. So um, when I graduated from high school, I was older than the kids are now because we had OAC back then. So I left
Mm-hmm.
grade
Hmm.
13.
Yep.
I took a year off after that, and I went backpacking with one of my friends in Europe for a few months. And then when I got back, I worked for a bit just to save some money up. And then I went to school, university in England for my first year of school. So I did the
It's amazing.
Hurstmonsu, the international, I think it's called the International Study Center at Hurstmonsu Castle in East Sussex in England.
Oh my gosh.
We
Now,
lived
did
till
you
seven.
appreciate it at the time? Because I'm sure now looking back, you're like, that is a really unique experience.
I
Did,
did, I did,
yeah.
I did appreciate it. It was, I was, it was probably one of the best years of my life, I would say. I met
Hmm.
people from all over the place, all walks of life. I made really good friends, and it was really fun.
Mm.
We would go to London for the night or for the weekend, and or
My
Brighton. Or
gosh.
when we went
Yeah.
on field trips, we would go for art history class. We would just go to the Louvre, and we would go to the Musée d'Orsay, and we would go for history. We would go to Waterloo, where the Battle of Waterloo was. We would just go
Hmm.
everywhere. So it's pretty amazing.
Amazing. Have you
That was
stayed in touch with some of those people? Did you develop
100.
some like long-term friendships?
Yeah, some of them I've stayed in touch with. Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh. And okay, so that was soon after you did just the travel in Europe? Because I was
yeah. It
thinking,
was
what was
right
it
after.
like to go from small town, right, to like overseas travel to
Yeah.
school over there? Like that would be a big adjustment.
Honestly, for me, it wasn't a big adjustment. Like as soon as I went backpacking in Europe,
Yep.
I still love Europe. I love
Mm,
Europe. I like being in old. I like history. I like being in old
yeah.
cities. I like
Yeah.
cobblestone streets and
Me
old
too.
buildings and history. So I loved it. I didn't miss
Mm,
it at all. I
hmm.
loved it.
Yeah. And what about your family at home? So you left younger siblings at home
Yeah,
and mom.
they came to visit
Yeah.
me. My
Okay.
mom. I remember my mom and my dad's mom being, concerned about me as a young girl
Yeah.
going to Europe by myself, and
Uh-huh.
how I wouldn't be able to take care of myself, and
Yeah.
trying to talk me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and bringing up how my grandmother would bring up how I was at that point, I guess I was almost 19, around there, and saying that, I should be focusing on getting married and having children. I was getting old.
The clock is
Yeah,
ticking.
and they were all from Eastern Europe. That's where they were all.
Okay. Yeah.
But I said, no, I'm going to go. And I was
Mm,
totally fine. Obviously, it was part of Queen's University. We were in a
yeah.
secure environment. I mean, some of the stuff we did on the weekends maybe was a little,
Yeah.
looking back, a little risky, but
Hmm. Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
still here. So,
Yeah. So I could see that being very either confidence building or showing the level of sort of confidence, competence that you have that would then play into like a job like you have now. Like I can see how that could like fit
yeah,
together.
a lot of the people I went to school with went on to law school, or other kinds of professional careers.
Hmm.
Um, one of the people I went to school with is a well-known human rights activist.
Mm.
So yeah, a lot of people went into jobs.
Hmm. I could see that because it requires something to just kind of be off on your own that far in another part of the world and doing those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Amazing. So at what age or stage of life did law capture your interest?
it definitely wasn't something that I thought about until I was older. So I did my undergrad. I started in England, and then I transferred to Laurier when I got back, because I liked this area. And my undergrad was in anthropology, so the study of culture, basically,
Hmm. Hmm.
which explains a lot of things about why I like all the things I do and the job that
Yeah.
I'm in now. And then after I graduated, I had to kind of decide what I would do with this BA. And
Hmm.
I wasn't really fond of doing a master's or a PhD in teaching. So I
Okay.
decided at that point that I thought maybe law would be a good thing to go into.
Hmm.
And I was thinking I would be a human rights lawyer.
Okay.
Kind of, I am doing family law,
Uh-huh.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's really tied together.
Hmm.
And then when I went to law school, I kind of just developed the interest in family law there, and then I started articling at a firm doing family law, and then I realized that was the kind of law I wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was there ever an interest or curiosity about practicing a different type of law?
no, not really.
No, no.
I think when I think about being a real estate lawyer, or a corporate lawyer, or an employment lawyer, none of that really appeals to me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe if I was in a bigger city, like if I was in Toronto or Ottawa or something, maybe I would have gone into something like human rights.
Mm-hmm.
or worked at a tribunal or something like that. But I knew I didn't want to be in a big city. I really liked Kitchener-Waterloo, and I wanted to stay in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think family law is a really important job,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of responsibility
Yeah.
to help people get through this time in their life. And I think I was good at it, and I would be able to. I have an ability to connect with people, and have people trust me and follow my advice. So I think that I just realized that even though this job's really difficult sometimes, I
Yeah.
am providing an important service. So
Hmm.
I feel good about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about it when you learned about it was the pull? What difference were you hoping that you could make in this line of work?
I don't think I really thought about it when I was in law school. I just
Okay.
found it really, I didn't think about what difference I could make. I just was interested in it. It was, it's just interesting. It's always something different. It's always a different set of facts.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with sometimes abusive relationships, right? You're dealing with intimate partner violence. You're dealing with property. You're dealing with support. You're dealing with children. There's just, it was always something different.
Mm-hmm.
And lawyers, family lawyers really have play an important part in how the legislation is drafted and when changes are made to the legislation, and in when arguing their cases, kind of creating new case law on novel areas. So I found that interesting, but it wasn't really until I started practicing, and becoming more confident about myself and my abilities, because I was kind of back in the day still when all the judges were old men. I was this young girl, and I mean, when I was started practicing, I guess I was around 29 or 30, but I probably looked like I was 18.
Right.
And I would
Yeah.
get asked
Yeah.
that all the time.
Hmm. How old are you?
They would ask me, or they would say,
Yeah.
"Oh, is your lawyer here with you?" And I would walk forward, "Well, I'm actually the lawyer." That would happen at the time. And, the older men would sometimes not treat me with a lot of respect because I was just
Hmm.
a little girl.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to prove myself to everybody and to kind of
Mm-hmm.
build up my confidence. But once I got there, I mean, I still am getting there now, but
Sure.
I'm a lot further along than I was when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
realize that I am providing a really helpful service, and that
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of family lawyers, um, just like any other profession. People are all different, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there are some family lawyers that just kind of come in and do their job and go home, and there's other ones that are empathetic and care about the family and care about the children and care about the situation. So, and I feel like I'm kind of more the second type of lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and that I
Mm-hmm.
do provide a helpful service, and I'm not just in this to make money, and I'm not just doing this because it's a job. I'm doing it because I enjoy it
Yeah.
most of the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm actually helping people and providing
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
necessary. Yeah.
I'm really glad you said that because I often answer similarly. I find in a different way the work that I do because it is people's typically their biggest transaction of their life, or I'm working with them because of a situation like clients you might be dealing with, right? Where they have to sell a home or things like that. And I suspect that there's similarities in your work that the like the I don't mean wins in a literal way. I mean like emotional wins, like the ways that you can help people give you like such a big high, but some of the challenges or really difficult situations are also like a really big emotional
On
like
you, on you.
on
Yeah.
you, on you. Yes, yes. So I often answer similarly because yeah, there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best. I love this. Like either my clients or the way things are going, or there's situation or their struggles or whatever. And I'm like, ugh, I hate this. Right? Like it's
Yep.
a
Yep.
big swing.
I completely understand what you're saying. Some of my friends have given me crystals to hold on to during meetings,
Yeah, yeah,
to get rid of the negative energy,
yeah.
strategies like that, because it is really hard sometimes, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you learn a lot from those kinds of experiences, and you learn how to
Yeah,
navigate them, and it helps you in your own personal life too.
sure. So how do you stay grounded, when you're going through, because the circumstances and the different cases and clients are, swinging you back and forth, but you need to keep going. You've got other things to do. You're not just working with, one client and one situation. You're juggling lots of things and personal life. So how do you try to stay grounded?
I try to stay grounded. That's the key word. I try. I
Mm-hmm.
don't always. I
Mm-hmm.
have a really great law clerk
Okay.
who
Uh-huh.
who's really on top of things, who kind of reads my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So she helps a lot, and she's very organized. I'd like to spend that, like I said before, that kind of half an hour a day
Mm-hmm.
by myself,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of in a almost like a meditative zone where
Yeah.
I can just not have to keep running the list through my head all the
Mm-hmm.
time and just completely relax.
Yeah.
Um, I like to. I never say no if I get invited out. If I can go, I like to hang out with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
um, and have
That's
fun.
great. Mm-hmm.
Go out for dinner. Go out. I'm going with a friend to see Teresa Caputo soon in Niagara Falls. So I like to do fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
I go to my kids' activities. So where I'm always at dance competitions and being a dance mom. So that
Mm.
takes my mind off things as well.
Yes.
And I like to travel. So my family travels quite a bit. We try to go on a trip twice a year.
Great. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So this
Mm-hmm.
year we're actually going to Europe. My kids have never been before, so we're going for 2 weeks with another dance family.
Yes.
So we're all going together. That's the longest time I've ever been off work in a row.
Yeah. Huh.
We'll see how that goes. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Now,
those are
what's the prep work-wise that will go into that? Like, do you have other lawyers covering some things for you? Is it a lot of lead up in kind of delegating some stuff, bringing people up to speed so that you can be away and be present while you're away?
haven't really got to that point yet, but it's booked
Okay.
off. I booked it
Okay.
off way in advance, so I don't have anything
Mm.
scheduled around that
Okay.
time.
Okay. Yep.
So yes,
Mm-hmm.
if emergencies come up,
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to have other lawyers in the office deal with
Mm-hmm.
it for me. But I'm
Yep.
hoping that just because the time was booked off and I have nothing booked around there, it'll
Yes.
be okay.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
have my law
Mm-hmm.
clerk, who's amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
she helps too.
Hmm.
I'm going to try to be unplugged during that 2 weeks.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's so important, right? For yourself, for your family. And it sounds like family is a high value for you, and
That is. I also
traveling
have
to a
a
place you
dog.
love. Okay.
I have a little
Uh-huh.
dog and I love her, so that's something I do. I snuggle with my dog,
Mm,
and that
mm-hmm.
she takes off the stress.
Yeah. No, they can be very, very good for that. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What's something that you think people might not understand or might misunderstand about the work that you do?
Well, what I hear all the time, especially from my family, mostly my brother, uh, well, you're self-employed, so you make your own schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You probably hear
Okay.
that too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like if I say that I had to work late or I had to work on the weekend, well, I don't understand that. You can just make your own schedule, just don't work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand that, not only are you a lawyer, which is already not, it's not like you punch in and you leave and things are done.
Mm-hmm.
As a lawyer, things are always ongoing. You never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen next. You might think everything's going fine, and then you're served with a motion, and you have responding materials due the next week. So you've
Mm-hmm.
already got that part of the job,
Yep.
but then you're also managing a law firm. Because I'm the managing partner, so you're dealing with you're also running a business.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with, bills and accounts receivable and accounts payable and staffing issues and people leaving and having to interview new people to come in and policy guides and um, payroll, like all of those kinds of things. You're also managing,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't understand that about this kind of job. They
Mm-hmm.
think you just go in and you work for punch in your time and then you leave. But when you leave, you don't really leave because you're still thinking about the families that you're involved with and what they're going through. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll get emails at night and on the weekends and while you're on vacation. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard just to say, oh, sorry, I'm off right now when they're going through something really difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
If you could do more of the parts of your job that you love and less of the parts of your job that you don't love as much, what would you do more of? What would you do less of?
Well, I really like when I'm in court or at conferences or whatever, actually talking about legal issues. So,
Okay.
interpreting case law, arguing what our legal position is on issues,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I feel like a lawyer's job should be. What I hate about my job is what we like to refer to as babysitting our clients, where our clients are contacting us not asking for legal advice. They're basically, saying things like, the mom didn't return the kids' shoes home today. What do I do? Um,
Mm.
the children were dropped off 10 minutes late. What can I do about that? Trying to think of some good examples.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kids' clothes weren't returned. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want, I want, I want to have a parenting arrangement in place for the family dog. Can I, like, I think that my husband should have to contribute to the cost of dog food and vet bills. Like
Mm.
those kinds of things
Mm-hmm.
are time consuming and cost
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money for us to deal with, but they're not
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
legal issues, right? They're just,
Right.
so
Right.
that's hard because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I don't
Yeah.
know, the examples I gave probably aren't that good, but there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you struggle with, like, you tell your clients, every time you email me, I charge you for it,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
But you're not really giving them legal advice about anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the part I don't love so much, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why having a really good law clerk is great because she
Mm-hmm.
can handle a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I can focus on my drafting and my research and
Yeah.
preparing
Yeah.
for court and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And is that the best solution? Is having like the clerk handle it, or is what is another way that those little things could be kind of figured out, or should they just be
Something
figuring them out on their own?
they should be figuring
Mm.
them out on their own, but
Mm-hmm.
some people struggle with that.
Yeah.
So what I really do the most now is I refer the parties to go to parenting coordination. So to retain a parenting coordinator, sometimes with arbitral powers. So basically, it's a professional who will kind of meet with the parties together. They'll have
Mm-hmm.
joint meetings, and they will talk through whatever the issues are, and the parenting coordinator will give advice on how it should be resolved, which is less expensive for the parties because it's usually a social worker, and then they split the cost of that. So the cost is a lot less than two lawyers sending letters back and forth about it.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
resolves things faster with somebody who's trained in that area because lawyers
Yeah.
aren't trained as social workers,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though we kind of
Yeah.
develop those skills along the way.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
and then if they have arbitral powers, then they have the ability to just make the decision.
Okay.
Like, for example, which soccer club a child will be registered at, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be this one in this city or this one in the next city over,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is it's not a legal issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I handle it,
Yeah.
because I think it's the best solution for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and counseling. Sometimes I refer the clients to go to personal counseling, but they would do
Mm-hmm.
that individually. So
Mm-hmm.
the parenting coordination really helps to resolve a lot of those little
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that. And that totally makes sense why those things would be not your favorite, since it's not what you're primarily there to do. But they would be very common, I suspect. Like lots of
Very
those
common.
types
Like,
of,
should they be registered in swimming, or should they play
yeah.
soccer? Should they,
Yes. Yeah.
my husband keeps sending the kids to school in Walmart clothes and I want them to wear Lululemon clothes. Like things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because their emotions are running so high and they're in such high conflict. And yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see how it happens. And yeah, they just are trying to get help from wherever they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, Shifting gears for a second, I saw that you got the best family law lawyer from the Waterloo Region uh, Choice Awards in 2021, 22. Tell me about this. This is pretty amazing. And is this then likely clients nominating you? Like how does this come to
I
be?
don't really know for sure who nominates you, actually.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember what years I got it for. So you saw those 2 years. I don't think I got it last year.
I saw I think 3 years. I think. Yeah, online.
But yeah, I think you're probably the nominations come from your peers in the community,
Okay. Yeah.
maybe from people at our office. I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
And then the voting is open to the public. And I know that a lot of people are aware of this in the
Mm-hmm.
area because there's a lot of
Yeah.
categories. There's restaurants, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm not sure who votes. Maybe it's just all my friends. That's possible. Maybe it's
Well, no
maybe it's
matter what, you have a lot of people, regardless, you have a lot of people that believe in you and are impressed with the work that you do. So it's kind of nice to get an award that's a voted on thing. I think that's pretty cool and speaks very
it is
highly of, I think, how you come across, how you carry yourself. If you were some, crotchety old lawyer, then probably you wouldn't have won, right?
that you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So congrats on that. I saw that and thought, yeah, I can see that. And it also speaks highly because of the type of work that you're in, that you
Mhm.
would be, kind of well received. So it's a really, really good fit. Yeah. I do have several, I call them rapid fire questions, but they're not rapid fire questions. They're just like random questions. Some of them take some thinking. But before I go to them, I do want to ask, is there anything that we haven't, kind of touched on that you think would be helpful, important, or interesting for people watching or listening?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot. I can't think of anything else that we haven't covered. We talked about my past, where I went to school, a little bit about my family.
Yeah. What if
Maybe
people are looking for a lawyer? They're maybe thinking about reaching out because of the situation that they're in. Would you have any kind of advice for them?
I guess the advice I would have, I know it's really difficult right now to find a family lawyer because all the family lawyers in this area are very busy. I think we need more family lawyers in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is you need to hire a family lawyer who you have a good relationship with, a good feeling
Mm-hmm.
about,
Mm-hmm.
because poor communication is often the reason that um, the lawyer-client relationship breaks down in this field.
Yeah.
So you really need to go with referrals from people that you know and trust, or
Mm-hmm.
interview more than one family lawyer to make sure
Mm-hmm.
you're with somebody with the right fit, because you're really putting your trust in this professional to guide you appropriately
Yeah.
about really important decisions in your life. And you don't know what you don't know. So these
Mm-hmm.
clients don't know anything about how family
Mm-hmm.
law works, what
Right.
the options are. They're trusting this professional
Mm-hmm.
to tell them. So you want to make sure you're with somebody that you can
Mm-hmm.
trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's honestly one of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast. Is it's a way for people to like meet some people in different
Mhm.
roles in different businesses, right? So
Yeah.
if they were looking and then they listened to this episode, watched this episode, and they go, oh, I really like, Amy, and, maybe I'm going to reach out to her rather than just a name. How else, if you don't meet somebody, do you know? So it's at least better than, just a business card or something like that.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
do hope that new people are introduced to you and what you do, through this, because you just never know who might, need or want your services.
Yeah,
So that's
for
kind of the
sure.
goal. Okay, are you ready to shift gears and do some of these air quotes rapid
Yep.
fire
I'm a
questions?
little nervous,
I
so see
I
how it
need to
goes.
change the name. I don't know what to call them. Random questions. If you weren't in your current career, what's a different path you'd love to try?
I've always joked that if I wasn't in this career, I would open up a vintage designer accessory boutique because I'm really into shoes and handbags and jewelry and stuff like that. So I would travel the world going to auction sales, buying vintage Cartier jewelry and, vintage Louis Vuitton and Prada and Dior and things like that and have my
Yeah.
vintage shop.
Oh,
Make it for children.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
I can see it. I commented on your funky glasses when we
yeah.
were getting on the call. So I could see you being into some of the accessories and things.
Yeah, I have
And
a little bit of a problem. I should have said that before I released stress too. I buy shoes and bags and
okay, yes, retail therapy.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. That sounds fun. And it is interesting sometimes how what we're drawn to is something like entirely different from what we do.
Like that with
Um,
a lot of family lawyers, you'd be surprised.
yes.
We were talking about this the other day on a chat group,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and it was funny. Like all the family lawyers, it was something
Uh-huh.
completely crazy what
Mm-hmm.
their other career would be.
Completely different. No, it makes sense though, because it's so kind of emotionally and mentally intense. You kind of probably crave something very, very different because you want like a break from that.
Yeah.
So even
I mean,
though
the
you
other
might love it,
option,
but
yeah, the other
yeah.
option, I always, I follow a group on Facebook about old historic houses and things pop up
Mm,
often,
yeah.
castle for sale in Scotland to, buy something like that and run a
Mm,
bed and breakfast.
mm,
That's my other thing.
mm-hmm. Well, and there's still time for those
Yep,
things
there
too.
is.
We'll let the kids grow up a little bit, and then
Yep,
that can be your later in life
yep,
gig.
yep.
You did make me think of a question that I had earlier and then I forgot. Is if you have people you can talk to, like I recognize there's client privacy, but just kind of about situations, about what you're dealing with, like can you talk to colleagues? Can you talk to like to just sort of vent a little bit and get some of those things out?
So I can talk to colleagues. I'm through one of my very high conflict files.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lawyer and we've become friends.
Mm,
Um, so um, I just called her today to ask about a file and get some
mm,
advice.
yeah.
So yes, colleagues for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, people in my office, but
Mm-hmm.
I also happen to have some of my best friends are therapists, which is just great. So yeah, so they help me a lot too. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just thinking early on with the intensity of it. It's nice to have somebody that you can talk about things with and process with
yeah, like
mentally
I
and
obviously I
emotionally.
can't give them details about
Yes.
situations, but I can give them a very broad
Yeah.
description about things, and
Yeah.
then they'll just give me advice on personally how to cope with it,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
great. And it's
No,
usually over a glass
exactly.
of wine, and it's
Mm.
good.
Hmm. Good.
Mm,
Glad to hear that.
yeah.
What's the best or one of the best compliments a client or someone in your office has ever given you?
Oh my goodness. I've had I can't think of one specific compliment, but I've had a lot of clients tell me or write reviews on Google or on Facebook or whatever, just saying that um, I helped them through the most difficult time in their life, and that if it wasn't for me, they don't think they would have gotten through it, and that means a lot to me because obviously they trusted me, they knew I cared about their situation, and they felt
Yeah.
like I put my all into it, and that's all I can really ask for
Hmm.
in this
Hmm.
kind of job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes I feel like, and I've even probably said, like, feeling kind of valued or appreciated is really my currency. Like, yes, we work to get a paycheck, but really that's not the main thing. I think sometimes those types of, affirmations and things are
I actually just
the
thought of
currency.
another one.
Hmm.
on two occasions that I can think of right now. One of them, I represented the husband, and the wife on the other side was self-represented.
Okay.
Maybe she had a lawyer for a bit, but I think she was self-represented. After our file was finished, we resolved everything. She wrote a review
Mm-hmm.
online, but she also would send referrals to me often, saying that she wished that I was her lawyer during the process because she really appreciated the way that I handled things, how respectful I was, and she thought I was really, I'm trying to find the words, like really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So she would refer her friends and family to me. And then I did a trial, which was a very hard, acrimonious trial. Again, I
Mm-hmm.
represented the husband.
Mm-hmm.
The wife was a young, in her 20s,
Mm-hmm.
self-represented person. So, during the trial, I would give her some pointers about kind of
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
she had to do. And after that trial finished, she wrote me, at the end of the trial, I went up to her and I said, "You did a really great job in this trial as a self-represented person. It was really hard and you did a
Mm-hmm.
really good job. I was really impressed. You should think about going into the field of law somehow, like a law
Wow.
clerk or whatever." So I got a letter from her, a handwritten letter from her a couple years later,
Mm-hmm.
saying how much she appreciated what I said to her, and that she in fact went back to school and completed a law clerk diploma, and that it was me. I'm going to tear up.
I'm tearing up as you're telling me.
So yeah, it was me that gave her the confidence that she needed to take that step, because she was not in a career. She was kind of just working odd jobs. She had a young child, two young children, and
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes you don't think about how much things you say to people will affect their life.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm. So that
Hmm.
that was probably the best thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Those examples, unbelievable. To me, I don't know that you could get higher praise or higher compliment.
yeah,
These are compliments coming
yeah.
from the other side. Like
Yeah, I keep that. I actually keep
that's
that letter.
unheard of.
That was several years ago now, but I keep that letter on my desk.
Yes.
It was in a
Yes.
card. It was a card.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, this is making sense to me back to your, being nominated for
Yeah.
these awards because it's like who you are, right? Like it's that someone from the other side could say thanks to you and refer business to you and take your advice is really incredible. Yeah, it
Feel
just
like that's
shows
how it
who
should
you
be.
are.
This is how this profession
Mm,
should be.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not always like that. But that's what it should be like, because lawyers are officers of the court and we should be held
Yeah.
to a higher standard and treat everyone with respect. And that's
Hmm.
how I try to practice. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes I get mad just like everybody else,
Of
but
course. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
no, I love those. I'm so glad I asked and I'm so glad you shared those. You're familiar with TED Talks?
no, I'm not.
No? Oh,
No,
okay.
that's something I
Well, you
don't
need to look them
look
up.
into.
It's very, very interesting. So I'll probably do a poor job of describing them, but TED Talks, like, I don't know what's them on, it's an acronym for something, but basically experts in a field will give like a 20-minute talk, like
Hmm.
in these little conferences, and to a group of people, and they're all over YouTube. There's their own kind of TED channel, that sort of thing. So, and they're all over the world. So there'll be like TED Austin, Texas, and a TED conference in Toronto, and
Okay.
and yeah. So, and you
I'm
can
gonna look
be
it up.
like all different, like you could be a plant expert. You could be like, it's just honestly anything. But they're fascinating. Like you should go search them because you'll
Yeah,
find some
no,
that you just love. And they're nice and short. That's why I like them, right? It's
yeah.
20 minutes. You'll understand it no matter what they're talking about because it's like for the public, right? So anyway, if you were going to give one of these type of talks, but not on something related to your work, what would you give a talk on?
Gosh, this is a hard question. I guess maybe I would give a talk on about how people should always remember and be cognizant of the fact that you never know what people are dealing with, what kind of baggage they're carrying, what happened to them that morning.
Mm-hmm.
You should always treat people with respect and be empathetic because you just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that would be great. That would be an awesome TED Talk. Do you know the author Brene Brown?
No.
Okay. She is an author who got famous from her TED Talks on shame and vulnerability. So those were her topics, and she talked about them, and these particular ones went viral. And then she's since, author's book, speaks, all this kind of thing. I shouldn't say it was because of that. I mean, she might have already been, but I'm saying those things certainly helped her career. Yeah. Okay. Final question. If you or your business had a theme song, what would it be? And I know these are hard.
Funny story. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but when we were a long time ago, we used to always joke that our theme song should be like Gold Digger, just because it's funny, right? And we're
Yes.
yeah. So we would sometimes walk around the office, saying the words, the lyrics to Gold Digger, and it was funny.
Yes. If you were doing a sitcom, it would be perfect.
We always talk about how we should have a sitcom because it's pretty crazy around here sometimes.
Yeah. Like The Office, but family law.
Right. Like Dance Moms, but the Office version of it.
Yeah.
A lot of big personalities, right? Which you would expect lawyers.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I
great.
don't even know what our current theme song would be. I don't know.
I mean, I can leave that with you if you can't come up with that. You'll just have to think of one.
I'll think about that.
Yeah. I can't think of things like that on the spot usually either, unless I've just listened to a great song that I think would fit. Otherwise, it would take me a while to kind of come up with it. But it'll be a fun thing for you to think about that isn't work related when we hang up from this call. Well, oh my goodness. Before I let you go, where can people find you?
So we are in our offices in Kitchener on the corner of Duke and Queen, McLeod Green Dewar. Our website is McLeodGreenDewar.ca. So you can find us there. We have a Facebook page as well under McLeod Green Dewar LLP. And if you just Google my name, Amy Green Lawyer, Kitchener, I'll pop up. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, Amy, I mean, I was excited to have this conversation, but this has been like awesome. I've so enjoyed it. The time flew by. The stories that you shared recently, I mean, I love a good, true story. Thank you so much. And I know you have like a lot of important things to work on. So I know
it took me forever to get this scheduled.
That's okay. That's okay. So yeah. I know this is the thing. So I'm very appreciative of you giving me this time, and I appreciate it. And I hope that we do let people sort of meet you virtually. And that's helpful in some way.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm so excited for your trip, your family trip. Oh my gosh. What time of the year is that going to be?
2 weeks of August. It's going to be very hot.
Amazing. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully I run into you again virtually or in person soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks again.